Welcome to Business Innovators Radio, featuring industry influencers and trendsetters sharing proven strategies to help you build a better life right now.
Hello, listeners. This is your host, Constant Taylor, and welcome to the show. Today, we have a very special guest, and let me tell you, you guys are in for a treat. You're going to want to listen to this entire program because she is going to share some very powerful information with you. Our special guest today is Lisa Fay. Lisa has been speaking professionally for over 20 years, and the content that she primarily speaks on is, the first one is called, it's a bit of a mouthful, When There Is No Line at the Ladies' Room, which talks about the lack of women in corporate America. And the second piece is Yes, and, which uses the principles of improvisation to leverage that into your business world. Lisa has spoken primarily nationally, but she's also spoken internationally as well. She is based out of Atlanta, Georgia. Lisa, that is quite a bio. Welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me.
Thank you for being here. Now, I'd like to kick off the show by asking you if you could tell the listeners about your business, the types of groups you work with, and how you help them.
Awesome. Well, I would tell you the two groups. One of them is really either women who work in male-dominated businesses or industries, or also men who realize there's no line at their ladies' room. Because the reality is diversity will bring so much more to your organization. And I mean diversity in the broadest sense, not just male, female, not race, religion, and background, but bringing diversity together really helps groups and teams get better business results. It's been proven in study after study. But one of the things I do is I spent 30 years at the Coca-Cola Company, and when I first started and went to my first big meeting, I had my own stall in the restroom because there were so few of us. And what I try to do is take those lessons that I learned over a successful 30-year career and share those with other women. And quite honestly, they really have the opportunity to supersede just women's rules. But I also tell them why the reason is behind it. People always say, go play golf, but they don't tell you that playing golf is about the access to your customers or to the people you're trying to do business with and building relationships. I mean, last time I checked, we weren't going to the spa and holding hands and talking for 3 hours. So what I try to do is talk to them about what to do, but more so the why to do it, so they can figure out how it works in their world and their situation.
Okay, interesting. Now, what types of, do you primarily speak to individuals one-on-one, or do you do seminars? How does that work?
Well, I found what has been successful is kind of doing two avenues, speaking to women's organizations, and secondly, speaking to women's groups within major corporations where the company has decided that they want to more actively build and promote the women internally. From that, I then have offshoots that either can relate into one-on-one coaching or some coaching seminars where I really go more in depth with people individually and try to help them create their personal plan for what they want to do and how to accelerate their performance, their happiness in their career, and help get them closer to their aspirations.
Okay. What would you say is one of your most proudest moments that you have experienced in doing the work that you do right now?
I would say a woman came up to me about a year and a half after I had spoken and said, I took a couple of things from your speech. I really enjoyed the whole thing, but I took a couple of things and I went back to work. One of the things I talk about is how to take feedback constructively, and how to find your own space, how you can be successful but not lose who you are. And she talked about some of the changes she made in her dress, some of the changes that she made in how she spoke to her leaders and how she engaged more and really developed an advocate within the organization. And now she had moved on into the next role and was looking to how to aspire to even further to the next one. And she felt those few things I said helped her, but I also let her know that it was what she did with them that made the difference, not the fact that I said them or that she listened. It was that she acted on them.
Okay.
So anytime I can get somebody to motivate them enough that they go do something with it, I feel that my time has been worthwhile.
Now, extrapolating what you said so far, it sounds like you try to work in conjunction with the company itself and also the individuals, the ladies there. So you look at how can the women present themselves and develop themselves to maximize their growth, and then you work with the companies to see how they can, make the company more diverse and be more inclusive.
Absolutely. I can go work both of those avenues. And I also look at women's organizations and industries. I've spoken to women in technology, women in construction, women in building that come from very different firms, but there may not be enough women at their firm, but they're tackling a tough male-dominated industry, and I help give them some insights on some things they can do to be more successful.
Okay. And how did you, because I was looking at your bio, your experience, how did you make the transition, or what inspired you to get into speaking and teaching and training?
I always enjoyed training my sales reps when I was a sales leader. And I spent several years at the Coca-Cola Company helping build our sales team's capabilities all over the world. And that really proved hugely satisfactory for me. Mm-hmm. And then what I did is I was running one of the women's organizations at the Coca-Cola Company, and I brought in an outside speaker. And afterwards, she heard me speak, and she said, "I think you're great." And I said, "That's nice, thank you." And she said, "You're really great." And I said, "That's nice, thank you." And she goes, "I don't think you understand what I'm trying to tell you." And I said, "Well, let me buy you lunch and tell me." And she encouraged me to look at speaking and teaching as a second career whenever I decided to move on. And I left that meeting with her, and within a month had formed my own LLC and started my company before I even retired from my corporate job.
Okay, excellent. So that gives us a good insight on when there's no line at the ladies' room. Let's shift to the next thing that you cover, yes and. Tell us a little bit about that.
Sure. Well, one of the things you can tell about me is I kind of take signs from the universe. I had a friend who said, "I think you'll be really good at improv." And every time I ran into her, she said the same thing. And I finally said, "If I take some lessons, will you go away and leave me alone?" And she said, "Yes." And I fell in love with the study of improv and started doing it for several years at the Whole World Theater in Atlanta. And what I came to learn is the rules of improv have so much to do with teamwork, team building, confidence, and trust that you could take those rules from that performance genre and apply those to your real world situations. The same thing that stalls something on stage. It's when somebody says no. And we are sadly much more of a yes, but civilization, if you will, right now, mm-hmm. versus a yes and. Mm-hmm. And using that rule and taking it not only moves the scenes, but it can move a discussion at work, a discussion over your dinner table. It's just such a huge enabler to make things grow and build versus things shutting down.
Okay. So then in practical application, if a person is sitting down with their manager and the manager says, for example, would you like to spend time working in product development? I know you're working in finance right now. The person would say yes, and Just for example. Now, what if there's a situation in which there's something, I'd like for you to go from product development to getting practice in the mailroom? Would the person say yes? And
well, I think what you use it for is to identify common ground. I'm not saying it's not a matter of just accepting things and then letting them stall, but you may say, yes, I can see that I've grown a lot from the current role and I have the need for additional opportunity. What other opportunity? Let's talk about some other opportunities outside of the mailroom that may also utilize the skills that I've demonstrated here.
Excellent. Wow. That's very impressive.
Yeah, because you didn't give me that one in advance.
I know, right? Yeah. I could.
That was a tough one.
I could hear your wheels spinning, but it was perfect. Like, wow, that's pretty good. So, and I'm sure the other benefit to that, as you were speaking, is it makes you probably mentally a lot flexible and agile. The yes and.
It does, but you know what? It also forces you to listen. Listening is another kind of, along with great conversation, is another lost art in this texting and email world. And the greatest listeners always, I find, are much more successful because most of the time the person talking will give you the information that you need to make a decision, to understand what's motivating them, etc. But you just have to stop and listen. And that's one of the things that I think improv taught me more about, rather what to say, was about how to listen.
Yeah, absolutely. It makes sense because you need to take the information in and process it in order to be able to deliver your line, your product.
Because what I have to find something I agree with in it.
Right.
And the tougher, like when you wanted to send me to the mailroom, that was hard to find where we could agree on. But by listening closely, I chose to alight on the, now you're ready for another opportunity.
Yeah, exactly. That was exactly.
Versus most people would only hear, you want to put me in the mailroom?
Right.
I don't want to go to the mailroom.
Yeah. And as I threw it out there, I was like, wow, that's a tough one. What is she going to? And bam, you delivered like the mail lady. Okay, so with the last 60 seconds that we have, and we'll have to bring it to a close, what's the message that you would like to leave with the listeners today?
Well, if you are looking for somebody to motivate and inspire your organizations, to help people be not only more successful at what they do, but happier in the way they do it, and you want to hear somebody talk that's going to make you laugh and just not use all these 50-cent words all the time, then bring me into your organization. Let me work with you. We're going to make a lot of progress, and we're going to have a lot of fun while we do it too.
Excellent. Now, if the listeners would like to get in contact with you, find out more about your services, how can they do that?
Sure. I have a website at lisafay.com, and I know, it's Lisa Fay like Tina Fey, but you can also reach me at my email, lisa@lisafay.com. You could also find me on LinkedIn.
Okay, Lisa, thank you so much for coming on the show. That was very powerful information that you shared with the listeners, and I appreciate it.
Thank you. Have a great day.
Thank you. You too.
Thanks for listening to Business Innovators Radio. To hear all episodes featuring leading industry influencers and trendsetters, visit us online at businessinnovatorsradio.com today.